everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards.
Yes.
And I love thanking our patrons also, which I'd like to give a quick shout-out to. Quick shout-out to our existing patrons, Dominic, Joseph, and Phil, and to the new patrons that have joined us as well, David, Justin, Lewis, Rob, Robert, and Sean. Thank you very much for your supports on Card Talk. So we're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to talk about cards. Isn't that right, David?
I think that's the way that works. So, Grant, what's our card for today?
Our card for today is going back to the core set.
I love these episodes where we go back to the core set. Sorry, I didn't mean to say. It's just I love the core set cards. They're still so playable. Anyways, go ahead, Grant.
And we are talking about the Spirit event, Fortune of Fate. Choose a hero in any player's discard pile and put that card into play under the owner's control. And it's for 5 spirit resources.
Wow.
Right.
Period. I think my favorite thing about this card is that it's got a cool title. What's the flavor text on it? Is there some sweet flavor text?
Yes, Fortune or Fate have helped you, said Gandalf. Not to mention courage, the Fellowship of the Ring.
It's got pretty cool flavor text.
Okay, Ted. Continue talking about Fortune or Fate. What do you...
Well, it's funny because this phrase actually sort of enters in. I feel like I say it in my everyday life. Things will come up, and they'll be like, "Oh," someone will be like, "Oh, this just happened." I'll be like, "Well, by fortune of fate, we, like, right, like the occurrence of this event has been caused by fortune or fate."
Right.
So that the name of it earns a little tiny space in my heart. In terms of gameplay, Fortune Fate 5, it's a lot. It was a lot when the core set came out, when that was like the only thing you were playing with, and through a lot of the cycle. And 5 it's still a hefty cost today when you compare it to other cards, but it's got the unique thing of it cost 5 resources for an oops.
Right.
Or like a whoops. I thought I was going to, be okay defending that attack with my hero, and now my hero's dead, and I need to resurrect it.
Right. And that's, I think, an important thing. Grant, what do you think of Fortune or Fate?
I think it's got its place because there's not a lot of cards that do allow you to bring heroes back from the discard, especially in the core set. This was the only card that could allow you to do that.
I want to say there's 3 cards that I think of that can sort of resurrect a dead hero.
Yep.
This is one
Fortune
of them.
of Fate, Houses of Healing, and
I'm including Landreval Ally.
Landreval,
Yeah.
right?
Because it resurrects it like if you have them in play.
Right.
Kind of like a pseudo effect. Not quite as powerful, but does get you the desired effect of unkilling your hero.
And it still costs 5.
Yeah, he still costs 5.
So, I mean, I think that this is a card that had to come out in the core set. And it kind of drives me nuts that it's just one of in the core set. Because I think while you're not going to have the resources unless you're playing mono spirit to bring this card out, I just think that it's important to have this card early in the card pool, because you're using your heroes to do so much stuff. The heroes did a lot of the heavy lifting early on, and your heroes can get, like Ted said, oops,
Wow, I didn't see that shadow card coming.
That's exactly what I was going to say. A shadow card comes, and and I like to play mainly as a purist. So, if I lose a hero legitimately, I don't try to do alternate universes and things like that, So, I think that this card had to come out in the core set because of how heavily emphasized the the heroes were early on, that they were just doing so much heavy lifting. But I mean, what is it about this card? Is it priced well? Like, what's going on with this card? Like, I don't know. You said 5. I don't know. 5 seems reasonable to me.
For bringing a hero back, yes, I'd say 5 is adequate when you compare it. But all the things that allow you to resurrect, like Land Revolt, like the Houses of Healing, all cost 5. But unlike, but it is still cost heavy unless you're playing with multiple spirit characters or a way to generate resources on the spirit, or on the spirit heroes. It is quite exponentially costed.
Yeah, it's especially costful if one of your heroes is dead, and like you have the spirit hero who's killed, and you're like, well, I have one less hero to generate resources, and now I need to pay 5 to bring that hero back, right? So it's sort of like a kicked while you're down type of thing.
Yeah.
But it has its strength of it being able to resurrect. I mean, you target a player, right? So you can resurrect someone else's hero. And when I was introducing a new player to the game, it's the one time I got my significant other to play this game. I built her a mono spirit deck, and I had room in it for one single card. And I'm like, I guess I'll put in Fortune or Fate. And I was playing the introductory Passes Through Mirkwood. It's like, right. Teaching a new player, right? You do an easy quest, like an introductory quest, monosphere deck to make the playthrough as easy as you can to teach. And I think the first or second turn, I had Sam was one of my heroes, and he defended an attack and got killed by the shadow card. And
whoops.
I was like, I didn't. Okay, all right. And as explained, like, this is not a normal part in the game, but we're just going to keep playing. I think it was first turn. This happened, and first turn, she didn't spend any resources, and then second turn, played Fortune or Fate with 5 of the 6 resources to resurrect my dead hero, right? And I think it's one of those one-of cards that you just kind of have. You hope the situation doesn't come up, but when it does, you're glad you have it.
Right. And I think also the other thing about this is there's not any workaround for this. Like, we can talk about shadow cancellation and attack cancellation and things like this, but there's not really any other, like when we had Aaron Fishbaugh on the episode and we talk about the jankery, like, if you lose a hero, you lose a hero, like, there's, you never want to be in the position to lose a hero, but it's not like you can, there's not really any much jank that you can do to like, it's already dead, so you either bring it back or you don't bring it back. That's
there's some jank to be set up if you're willing to lose a hero. I mean, there's several cards that benefit from losing a hero. The Fall of Gil-galad.
Yep, that's a great card to combo with it.
Yeah, so if you know you're going to, say, sack off one of your heroes at some point, play the Fall of Gil-galad. Play Fortune or Fate to bring them back.
And that's what I was gonna get into was, well, what do you do in order to maximize the loss of the hero? So the Fall of Gil-galad is one of them.
I look to then heroes that have abilities to kill themselves. The 2 of which are Tactics Boromir and Falco.
and Caldara.
And Kadara. Yes, thank you. Which, she's spirit. You're usually running a mono spirit deck with her, so that card kind of fits in line. And it is expensive, but if you're playing hobbits and you have a spirit hobbit hero like Frodo, you can put
like
Good Meal.
Fatty Bulger.
Fatty Bulger. Thank you very much. Perfectly eligible target for Good Meal. And you could play Falco, and you could kill Falco, reduce your threat by 7, and then use a good meal to pay 3 and resurrect him, and then he's back, and your threat got dropped.
Right.
So you kind of paid 3 resources and a card to drop your threat by 7. you know. But
Well,
it's there.
What if you put Fall
You
of
could-
Gil-galad onto Falco, and then you're dropping your threat by 14, right? 7 for Falco, and then 7 again for what the Fall of Gil-galad does, right?
Yeah. Or you could just. I don't think Falco's ability is limited to once per game. I'd have to look at him.
I think that it is without looking him up. I'll look him up while
Right.
you're talking about him.
The Fall of Gil-galad has to be attached to a hero that is destroyed, not discarded.
So Trigger Fall of
Okay.
Gil-galad, you have to actually be destroyed by taking damage, like defending an attack, not just the hero
Ability.
dying.
Right, you can't just sacrifice.
Yeah,
the
being
hero.
discarded. Yep.
Right. So Falco, just to clarify, is limit once per game for the whole group. So
Okay, but you still could, use his ability and then bring him back.
right.
And if you, especially if,
But
if
then
got
you can
his
just kill,
ability,
and then you could just kill him off with Fall of Gil-galad on him,
you
and then
could kill him
bring-
off with Falco.
and then bring him
Yeah.
back with a second copy of, of Stand and
Yep.
Fight.
There
Or
you
not,
go.
Not Stand and Fight. Fortune or Fate.
Same thing with, I've used Tactics Boromir. Tactics Boromir, his ability is really about, like, if you're on the last turn, you're like, I'm on the last
Yeah.
1 or 2 turns, and I'm going to discard him to finish off a whole bunch of enemies that you're dealing with. But you could strategically play that. Or if another person on the table, multiplayer, someone's like, hey, I got Fortune or Fate in your hand. All of a sudden, an option opens up, for you to even take an undefended attack.
Going through the mines of Moria with Tactics Boromir and just nuking the entire goblin swarm.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Also, Grant, to support what you just said, is that there's some cases where the way that the encounter deck wants to kill you is through swarming you, and the whole Casa Doom cycle. That's how those goblins want to kill you. So. And that was early on in the game's development, so doing all that damage, to all those little dinky goblins may actually work. So, so I think that there are some reasons to do this, and I think I actually like the fact that it's cost 5 along with every other version that brings a hero back, right? Like,
Yeah. And both of those cards can be reduced in various ways, even though some of them are more recently, like Radagast's Staff will reduce the cost of Land Revolt. And Houses of Healing, I think, has a text on it where you can exhaust healer traded characters to reduce its cost.
right?
Which would be like Warden of Healing. Or actually, no, not Warden of... Does he have the healing trait?
He is a healer, yes.
Yeah.
Ally.
Aorith.
Ally. I'm so sorry. I'm thinking of Ally Elrond. You spend 3 to bring Ally Elrond in, and then you're spending
And then-
3 to save the one. Oh, that doesn't
Yeah.
work. That's not good.
Yeah. But if 5, it's an appropriate cost. Because
But
if it
it's
was
also-
less than that, you could, there are, like I said, there are ways to reduce it. There's ways to resource accelerate. On top of, if you're have leadership access, or even some non-leadership cards to resource accelerate. It's got its place.
Yeah, and I was going to say that it's the only one of the 3 that brings back your hero fully health. The other ones you put one damage on it. So
Right. And this targets, I don't know if Houses of Healing targets another player.
it's everybody. All 3 of them can target any
hero.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
But
just
yeah,
want to say the artwork for Fortune or Fate's amazing. It's Gandalf and Aragorn discussing their path.
yeah. And that picture, I always imagine them. They're like hunting down Gollum, right? Because they're
Well,
because it was just those 2.
Well, I'd say it's either that or it's when they're busy discussing their plans to go either to the Red Horn or down to the mines of Moria.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
And the rest of the company's just off at the side. Just
Yeah.
not in picture.
Right.
By fortune of
Just-
fates, we will
Right.
have glory. I don't know. I say it, people. Yeah, I just find
It's a very like
It's an-
Middle Ages thing to say, like Fortune of Fate.
by like how did we come across this? Whether by fortune, whether by fate, and so I think about it a lot. And I tend to put it more in multiplayer decks, I'd say, than solo decks or even 2-player decks. If I'm running Spirit, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to an event, or I know I'm going to be playing with 3 or 4 people. Because then you have sort of more opportunities for heroes to be killed.
Well, and I was going to say,
I guess.
I was to couple with that is that, in a 1-player deck or a single, when you're playing solo, if you lose a hero, like, you're not playing a solo deck to lose a hero, most likely, unless it's a Caldara build or, unless it's one of those really janky sorts of builds.
Strider decks.
Yeah, so you're not really trying to play this single player because you don't want to lose a hero, and so I totally agree. If somebody's playing a mono spirit deck in 4-player, this card definitely, I think, increases its value increases a ton. Well, what else do we have to say about this? I mean, it's an event, so that is what it is, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the core set cards that has still aged, because they've added some more cards to resurrect heroes, but there's still not that many. So I think it's going to continue to hold its place for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy to see that it's aged well rather than just being aged.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still relevant in today's card pool.
Yep.
It's relatively ageist, like Aragorn. That's right.
Okay. Go ahead, Grant.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Should we ring this guy, or do we have anything more that we need to say about him?
Yeah, I think the reason people maybe don't run it is because when I'm putting things like this type of effect in my deck, I'm thinking like, well, is there something I can do that maybe just my heroes won't die?
Right.
Right.
So what, like the Honor Guard or something like that?
Yeah, like
Mithril Shirt, which is in Sphere. There's.
Some type of effect, like canceling or stopping shadow cards,
right.
or stopping treachery cards, or
that's what
preventing or healing damage.
Right, cancellation.
Stopping.
That's why I was going to say in the early card pool. That's why I think this card was super important. Is because there's only so many ways to cancel stuff, and there's not as many ways. There's still, not a ton of ways to cancel stuff, but it's gotten broader with different play styles and different card types or different, traits and things like that. So, the Sylvans come to mind, that you can cancel just about anything in a Sylvan deck. So, you don't play this in a Sylvan deck because you can just cancel all those things that are going to kill your hero. But early on in the card pool, like I said earlier, like you just needed this because your heroes were doing all the heavy lifting. So should we ring this guy?
Absolutely.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know or is new to the podcast, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rate these guys on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, and 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made. Mm-hmm. And so who wants to go first? Oh, wait. I do want to say one thing that I want to say, that this episode is brought to you by Katie's Snore.
Right. Very important contributing member.
Yeah. I can hear it completely through the whole episode, and it's great. So for anybody who wants to know where that originated from, please go back and visit our previous show on the Andrath Guardsmen. You'll hear that. But Grant, I'll let you go first, since Katie is going to kill you when she hears this show. So go ahead.
I'm going to rate it a 5. It's relatively useful, especially as Ted says, in multiplayer games, even in some 2-player games. But it's always situational. You don't want to use it, but it's always a nice thing to have just in case. Okay. So, 5 for me.
Okay. Ted?
My initial instinct is actually to give this a 3 rating
Wow.
because it accomplishes, we did compare it to the other effects, and Landerville's like not as good as the other ones because you have to have him out at the time. And Houses of Healing may have kind of surpassed it. But if you look at like what this card does, and it's like, oh, it brings back someone's fallen hero. And you could be in a spot where like, well, we lost this hero. How important are they? Are we going to just limp along until we do fail? Because sometimes losing a hero, you want to scoop, if you're going to just continue to just lose, right? And it's not pleasant anymore to play. Like those scenarios do happen. I try to go on with a dead hero. But if it's early, if it's really early, like turn 3, that can be real bad. So it does what it's supposed to do, and you can have fun while saying its name. So
as shown all throughout the episode
yeah.
by Ted. And I'm gonna have to agree with my buddy Grant there for this card. I'm gonna have to say 5 rings because I think the card pool is broad, but I think as you get to play a higher player count, I think that this card can sneak into some decks and help you out. And also, I just think that there's so many cards in the card pool that can help you not lose a hero now at this stage in the game. But I also think that there may be reasons why you want to put this card into a deck that we talked about. You'd want to lose a hero, or you have a hero that you just want to that is okay to sacrifice at some point. So I think that this card still sees some play because of those sorts of things. But I'm going to say 5 rings because I'm just not really reaching for it all the time because I'm mainly a solo player. So that's what I got to say. So
yeah, my rating was more in like considering all of the context,
Yeah, you play mainly multiplayer, so I can understand why you're wrong. So that's fine. But
I'm gonna put this card in my. I can't wait till we play together next, David, and one of your heroes just totally biffs it, and I'm like, well, I could play Fortune or Fate. I guess I'll just choose to save my resources.
Oh yeah.
I'll wait for that day.
It is not this day.
Yeah, not this day, but
right. Okay,
it'll
everybody. I'm going to cut Ted off and get out of here before I get in trouble. So everybody, have a good day, and thanks for listening, and we'll catch you again talking about more cards in the game. Have a great day, and enjoy Katie's snore. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.